Hi, this is Carol from the STS. This is the Adult Cardiac Surgery Database webinar for March 4th. We're going to get started here. Thanks for joining. On our agenda for today, we will just do welcomes and introductions, an update from IQVIA, and a Q&A. Please use the Q&A function to submit any questions that you have, and we'll get to those shortly. There is a question here regarding a call-in number. If you're looking for a call-in number, it is on the STS webinar page, and we can post that link in the chat box. Okay, so first thing I want to say is thank you to everybody who is joining, and thank you for all of your hard work in getting this submission, making this submission a success. I know it was a little bumpy. We, STS and IQVIA, recognize all of the hard work and the stress that this has caused for sites, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for being there for us while we went through this. We had about 980 sites submit, which is pretty normal for this harvest. Usually for Harvest 1 and Harvest 3, we have about 1,020 sites, so we were pretty close to what we expected. There was 1.4 million records successfully accepted, which is a huge number of records that IQVIA brought into their platform from the sites outside of DCR migration. So it's a huge number of records. 72,000 of those records had OR dates from October 1st to December 31st, 2019. So that was pretty average. We usually get about 75,000 records, new records. This is 72,000 unique, brand new records with surgery dates. So it's pretty average, pretty close to what we would have expected. We normally would have got 75,000. Melanie's going to go more into this in a second as soon as we get to the IQVIA section, but from STS, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I know it was a rocky road, but not unexpectedly rocky, and we did get through it, so thank you so much. Quick update, we do have the version, for housekeeping, we have the version 4.20 data specifications have been sent to the vendors. The software specifications will be sent out this week. We are going live with version 4.20 on July 1st. The March training manual, Melinda had just completed it later last week, and I finally had gotten able to put it in PDF form, and it will be posted hopefully by tomorrow. I'm sending it over to marketing as soon as we're off of our webinar here for them to post it. And then please remember to pull down your old reports, your previous reports from the DCRI portal. Those reports, that portal closes on March 31st. If you do not have your reports pulled down by that time, you will no longer have access to them. So I urge you to, if you have not yet pulled down your reports from the DCRI portal, to go ahead and pull those down now. And then an update on our important dates for us coming up here. So I'm going to do a poll here, but for the month of March, I just wanted to give an update. We did have 3 user group calls scheduled. 2 of those calls are going to be canceled because we're through the submission. We did a pretty great job of working together, getting all of us through. So we're going to hold off on these 2 calls. But our harvest closed on the 28th. We have our call now, and then our next user group call will be March 18th. We'll have a specification upgrade call on March 26th. The DCRI report portal closes on the 31st, and MIPS reporting is due to CMS on March 31st. Nothing for sites to do here. This is just a notification, like an FYI. Summer 2020. We will have a dashboard with the benchmarked data, and then in the future, near future, I think, we'll have a longitudinal dashboard. So, and I kind of wanted to expand on the dashboards a little bit further. There are currently what we have now, we have a live dashboard, and it's living as you're updating data, and other sites in STS are updating their data. It's getting aggregating those outcomes in the STS column, and you're seeing your constant update to the numbers on that dashboard. Once that dashboard is a living dashboard, in addition to that dashboard with the updated numbers where you can drill down into specific fields and things like that, you have the data quality report, and then you have the missing variable report. Those 3 items are your data cleaning tools. So those 3 items are meant to help you clean your data and make sure you're set for submission. once we get this benchmarked data back, and Melanie will talk more about the flow of data from what happens now, where is your data at now, and what's coming in the future. But the end point of at what Melanie's going to end with is that we're going to get data back from DCRI, and that data is going to be the analyzed benchmarked data. There's going to be a separate dashboard that will be built. It's all going to be in the same platform. You won't need any different access or anything like that. But this dashboard, this next dashboard, it's going to be the benchmarked data. So it's going to be a static dashboard. It's going to have your benchmarked data. You'll have your like groups in there. You'll have your STS comparison. That data will not change as you're entering data. It's just a static dashboard. This is your quality improvement tool. So different than your cleaning tool, you have a quality improvement tool. And then in addition to that, coming soon will be the longitudinal dashboard, which will have longitudinal data further out than what is available on that benchmarked data, although both will have longitudinal. The longitudinal dashboard is actually kind of cool when we get it up. I'm excited for everybody to be able to have access to it. So the three tools you have, just to recap, the three tools you have now are the data quality report, the missing variable report, and your live living non-analyzed dashboard. When we get the data back from DCRI, which will be probably, I'm thinking probably end of April or May sometime, and we'll report out as those dates get closer when that report will come out. That will be put into a dashboard. That will be your analyzed dashboard. This is a quality improvement tool that you can use at your site. And then we'll have that longitudinal dashboard, which will be following. Okay, so that's what I have for the important dates for adult cardiac. I do want to do a quick poll. Let's see if I can do this here. Okay, I hope you can see it. This is, starting in April, how often would you like user group calls? So we have once a month, twice a month. I don't really find the user group calls useful, or what the heck are user group calls? So let's see what everybody thinks here. Okay, so it looks like we're probably going to, thanks everybody for voting. It looks like we're probably going to stick with once a month, so that's what we've planned for March, starting with the March 18th user group call. So we'll continue that going forward. Thank you so much. And there, I don't know if you can see the results or not, but there they are. So we're going to stick with once a month. Thank you. Okay, and now I'm going to hand it over to Melanie Bent from IQVIA. She's our lead business analyst. Melanie?
Thank you, Carol. And hello, everyone. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some updates. As Carol was saying, congratulations. This definitely has been an effort, and you all have come through and were able to upload, as you saw on the previous slide, 1.4 million in regards to new record creation or updates. So let's take a look at the stats of where we are since harvest had closed on the 28th. So the total number of records, which will include successfully uploaded and the migrated DCRI data, came out to be about 1.6 million. And just to kind of hone in on the data that was captured during Q4, which is October 1st, 2019 through the end of 2019, that came out to be about 72,000 records, 73,000 records. And that hit exactly where STS had expected, as Carol had said earlier. Previously in those harvests, it was about 75,000, so close. So a lot of the questions that have been coming in is basically, what were the steps that were taken after harvest had closed last week Friday? So as of 11:59, basically all data at that point was captured, and really at the point of February the 29th by 12, we automatically did a backup copy of the records. And so that record set that we captured started 7/1/2014 because that's the beginning of the 2.81 version that we basically started our support from. So all of those records all the way through the end of 2019, and that snapshot, that backup, will be the data that will be submitted to DCRI for analysis. I wanted to call out because a lot of the questions in regards to data that will be sent to DCRI, there's concern in regards to duplication. So we are working through making sure that duplicate patient records are not sent. So that analysis is still happening, and automation in regards to removing those happens nightly. So again, we would make sure that all of that information that gets transferred over to DCRI would not include those duplicate records. Just wanted to make sure that we clarify that. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So phase 2, at this point, we're looking forward. There are reports that we're currently working with the STS team on developing, and with that, of course, is going to be the focus on getting the risk analyzed outcomes dashboard. So this is going to be a new dashboard report, as Carol had stated a little earlier, and this information that you would receive would be your star rating, your outcomes report. This is the data that has been analyzed and will be sent back from DCRI. So that effort and analysis is underway in regards to the requirements around that with DCRI to make sure that we're able to send that data through a bidirectional flow. So a lot of things happening in the background, but again, to be able to surface that information within the IQVIA platform. So that's coming. Another big ticket item that's coming up, of course, is the data version upgrade for the 4.20. And so I know that there's a call scheduled for this month. But at this point, we have those items in regards to requirements, software specs, the form itself, everything posted on the STS site. We are also doing that development to make sure that we can support this new form version so that you're able to upload the data that's associated with this form version. So that effort is underway also. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. So I wanted to focus on a lot of the feedback that you all have been providing. We were actually able to have additional calls with data managers to discuss certain enhancements around the different reports. We've been able to do that via conference call and in person, email that we've received that also has been shared with the STS team. So feedback is coming from all aspects, and we're taking those all in and we're reviewing it. A lot of the high ticket items, I'll call them, is on the DQR, the sorting, making that better. And we hear you. We want to make sure that we're able to make the usability of the report something that you're not having to really figure out. It should be something that you're able to go in and sort, if you want to, by short name. So that was one of the items that came up, to be able to have a column of the actual short name for that data variable so that you're able to group those together if you would like. Another one is to be able to have the record ID in that bottom section of the report where you have all of the patient level information, having a new column to be able to just sort on that. Then, of course, updates to validations and errors and warnings, considerations in regards to feedback that we've gotten around some of those errors and warnings. So we're reviewing all of that. And at this point, we're prioritizing with the STS team to be able to make sure that we're able to really look at what are those items that will really make this process really efficient. So again, all of that's under consideration. Another report that has come up is in regards to being able to view the summary of the data by harvest. And that's being able to easily go in and see the observations by surgery year, mortalities by surgery year, observations by procedure group, by surgery year. So all of these things, being able to surface that information so that you're able to review that information in a centralized report. So those are other areas that we're looking at too. Go to the next slide. Okay, more feedback. Now moving on to the missing variable report, being able to see the summary detail for the actual procedures. Right now you're looking at the individual, you're looking at data version, surgery year, the individual variables, but being able to see summary level information by procedures. That's also been an item that has come back up. So we, again, are looking at and assessing how we're able to make sure that we're able to enhance the missing variable report. And then even on the filtering, just being able to make sure that there's understanding of what the filter that you're selecting, if there's an indicator that will easily tell you that this is a Proc ID variable, to make sure that it matches the actual filter section. So right now we have some available filters and it just has the name, but being able to easily see, well, procedure identification will have a bracketed 4 next to the actual variable name. So enhancements like that to easily give that type of information when looking at the report. And then at the bottom section of the missing variable, there is, of course, the drill down option for the cases. Additional feedback has been around add the short name. So that short name, again, is consistent with what we were just talking about with the DQR. Add the short name column, so then again, we can do some sorting in that section. And then maybe display, another one has been maybe display the MRN. So again, we're looking at all of these feedback items and just making sure that, you know, as we assess, that it brings the most value when interacting with these reports. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. And then moving along to the dashboard report. So currently, when we released for phase 1, we started off with what we call our minimal viable product, or MVP. Right. So in order for us to deliver, we worked with the STS team to say, well, what are the high priority variables that we need to display on our initial delivery? Because after that, we are going to continue to iterate through and update the dashboard. So we've gotten some feedback to say, well, hey, where are these variables? I don't see it on the dashboard. And that's just because at the time, there was a decision made to say, we're going to start off with this, but we'll continue to build and add more variables. So that's what we will continue to do. You will see as we do updates that more variables will be displayed. And then, of course, with the new data version that's coming up for 4.20, we want to make sure that we incorporate those new data variables so that you would, of course, see the data related to that data version. So that's something else that we have to make sure that we consider. And then on the dashboard itself, once it's loaded, right now, you're not able to see the date range that was selected or the procedures that were selected. And this is more so if you expand the actual dashboard by right-clicking on, there's a tab at the bottom that says ACSD Participant Dashboard. And if you right-click and open that into another window to give more real estate, you basically are losing that parameter page. And so again, for usability, we understand that we just need to be able to provide a quick way for you to be able to see, okay, what was the date range that I selected? What were the procedures that I selected? And have that on the screen. So again, that's additional feedback that we received. And then, of course, the last item here has been feedback around providing the risk score matching report. So again, in the original paper DQR, that was something that was an additional section that gave that comparison information. So we are again looking at that, providing that type of information. So, and looking through all of this feedback and working with the STS team to prioritize these deliverables. Okay, let's take a look at the next slide. A couple of key reminders that we wanted to make sure that we emphasize is that we were able to migrate in the 2 data versions that you see listed there. So just always keep in mind that if there were no updates to your historical records that were required, you don't have to re-upload. You don't have to go back and export all of that information to re-upload that to the platform. So just know that that data is already in the system. And so that information, if it does not need to be updated, there's no need for you to have to re-upload and submit that. But if you do have changes and updates, which would have to happen on those migrated records, then of course you could go ahead and do the export for that. But just know that if there are certain validations around those records, that just understand that if you run into, let me bring this scenario up, if you run into a scenario where it's a critical message on that record and that record has already been migrated, the record is still there. It doesn't get dropped, it does not, the original record does not, is not removed from the database. What happens is the update that you're trying to push in is not being accepted, okay? But the original record, that migrated record, is sitting there. It does not get removed. And so I just wanted to make sure that, that I throw that out there and it's clear that if you do run into a critical on an existing record that you're trying to update, the original record is not removed. Okay. Another thing is understanding the differences with the critical error. When you encounter a critical error, that type of message does indicate and let you know that the record has not been accepted into the database if you encounter that. So it has to be addressed in order for you to, or has to be resolved in order for you to be able to get the record in. If there's a submission where you have an error or a warning, that data is accepted into the database, so it is saved. But you will, of course, have to review the error or the warning, but just know that the data was brought into the database at that point in time if you didn't encounter a critical error. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear also. Let's go ahead and let's go to the next slide. All right, moving into the known issues. And after I go through the known issues, we'll of course just recap on the support plan, but then we'll open it up to, I see we have some questions that are coming in. We'll make sure that we can get to the question. So we'll quickly go through these. So what will happen is we'll have, of course, the presentation posted as usual. Usually the STS team will make sure that this information is loaded to the website, but we will also update the notification section with any other updates. So currently we have known issues list that is posted there. We'll have some updates. So again, check the notification section and you will be able to see these also. And I will just say some of the items that, some of the IDs that you may have been issued from support may be a duplicate. So if you see that it's a similar description, most likely that duplicate ID that you were given is related to a parent. So I'll try to make sure that I can link all of the related items so it can be clear, but just know that we usually will have a parent level item and then link the duplicates, anyone that's reporting the same issue, link it to that parent. All right. Okay, so going into the current issue, breaking up. Okay. Carol, how am I sounding? Sorry.
You broke up just for a second, but it sounds fine now.
Good now?
It was just, yeah, it was just
all right.
quick.
Sorry about that. All right, okay. Sorry about that. All right, so hopefully, if anything, yep, just thank you, Beth. All right, so let's talk about some of these issues. We do have some that really we have, it's not across all users, where they are encountering an infinite loading message on the upload page. We have been able to identify those users, and support has been working with those users. We do have a way to determine who has encountered that. So if this is an item that you have an open ticket with our support team, please continue to work with them on getting this. I think a lot of times, from what I understand, is that if possible, if they were able to get the file, they were uploading on the behalf of. So again, if you're encountering this, make sure that you reach out to our support team and continue to work through this. I'm hoping that, I think the number is smaller, but I do know that there were some reports of this recently. And then another one that we have seen, and this does vary from site to site, but it is the same message. It's when the upload fails and the file basically gives you a status of S3 complete. And so with this, it does vary with scenarios. We've seen that the majority of the files that we have reviewed, there were specific file structure errors that were being encountered. So we had characters that special characters that were included in columns that shouldn't have, and with working with some of the vendors, it seems that characters were being added at the time of export in those instances. And again, it's hard to, there's no one specific root cause. And so that's why we are encouraging you to make sure you reach out to our support team, because we have to review those individual files because everyone's situation has been a little bit different. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, yeah, this is the same one in regards to the S3 error. So I'll jump to the next one. And
Sorry.
It's okay.
I got finger happy on my mouth.
I see you. I see.
Sorry.
All right. So for the next item, where we're seeing this 2106, there have been instances where the record ID, when it's coming in from that DAT file, the first initial, which usually is a V, it's either capitalized or lowercase. And so what's happening is we've identified an issue where the system is looking at the actual ID, and it's looking at it's basically just passing it through and treating it as a new ID if there's a difference in case. So it's not considering, it should look at, okay, if it's uppercase or if it's lowercase, it's the same ID. So we have identified that, and our development team is working through that. With that, with any of those sites that have encountered that, we are working with them, of course, to make sure that any duplicates that have been generated are also removed. So, and I think this is more so isolated. This has not been widespread. But again, we're working through with those sites to make sure that that's corrected. And then for 2051, there are multiple STS IDs. So some of you, if you have this issue, you may have a different ID. So I just wanted to call that out. This is the instance in which you're uploading and there is a different number of records that have been uploaded into the system, and it wasn't what was expected. So let's just say you had 50 files, but out of the 55, and then maybe one critical error. So in this instance, we again have to look at the file, we have to look at the scenario, and there's different flavors of this. We have some where it's been reported that files have been dropped. So it would say 50, but then it would say 50, but then what was expected is 51. So for some reason, those actually, that one record drop. So there's different flavors to this. Again, I want to make sure that I, in the notifications, give a summary, but basically it's related to records being dropped. And again, we've been looking at each scenario to determine if there's different issues related to those. The next one, this one is 2120, where users were getting max number of uploads reached. We do realize that it's not across the board, has been a subset of users that have identified this, and we realize what the root cause is for this, and we're working with our product development team to get this resolved. Usually, if the user goes back and tries to upload again, So let's just say maybe 10 minutes later, they try it again, it would go through. So it is not something that it's consistently giving them that error message. And then again, it's a setting that once it hits a certain amount of uploads, it may start throwing that message. So we do realize that as an issue and working on resolving that. And another one which was recently coming up related to the dashboard, and I wanted to raise this one because I saw emails coming in 2219 related to the IMA field excluding patients on the dashboard. And so with those sites that I am aware of that have encountered this, it seems that again related to the file, but also in one instance, and in another instance, it's the actual calculation was considering a duplicate. So again, there was different scenarios related to this, but we're looking at that and making sure that we're looking at all aspects to make sure that that issue is resolved. Okay, and I think we have one more. I didn't want to take up the entire call. There are some others, but then those are not as high in regards to reported, just in regards to the number of users that reported the issue. These were the ones that had more activity. And so I wanted to call this one back out. This one was 1765, and it's related to this specific message where it is firing. But the instance in regards to this is the data is correct, but the logic that's triggering is incorrect. So in each scenario, we were able to look at the actual case record and we were able to determine the information in, but that warning was firing incorrect.
Sorry, Melanie, could you just repeat what you just said? It just went out
for a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah,
okay.
The information that's in what we were able to verify is that the data that was captured within the case for this item that has been reported, that information is correct. The warning was firing incorrectly. So we understand that this actual warning here has been coming up. So we wanted to raise this one and this is on a list to get fixed. It was brought up before, which it was appearing on the 2.81 version, and it shouldn't have been included. So initially when it was reported, the determination was it shouldn't have been included in that previous version. So that's where the initial defect related to this came up. But it's reared its head again, and in this instance we realized that the logic needed to be updated. So just wanted to call this one back out because I know we have had a couple of reports on it. Okay, so
Great,
let's
thanks,
go
Mel.
ahead. Yep. Thank you.
Thank
okay,
you.
I didn't realize that we were at support plan already.
We're at support plan. So I think this is familiar to the folks on the call. This is just tiered level support system. Your first point of contact will be IQVIA via the phone or email listed. And then IQVIA, if they're not able to answer your question, they'll farm it out to tier 2 support or to STS. Tier level 2 support, you'll get an email back that says they escalated it. You may get something that says a ticket was closed, and then they issue you another ticket number, and that's all okay. That ticket is still open going to tier level 2. And any of your communications after that should please include your ticket number and your STS. If they give you an STS number that identifies the problem, please include that in your correspondence, either back to IQVIA or STS, so additional tickets do not get opened. And it could take a day or two for Tier 2 to get back to you after Tier 1 elevates it. So just so you know that it is being worked on, they will be reaching out. STS, then, if you have questions that are related to any type of the analytics or you're looking for quicker follow-up you may not have got, feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you get the answers that you need. And we're also working with the database vendors during the transition and for the upgrade, for the version upgrade. Okay, and then again, the support, we have STS Tech Support at IQVIA, our national database feedback form. This is where your sites have been sending in feedback to us about things that they would like on the platform, or maybe tweaks to the platform that they think would be helpful. Nothing emergent or that's going to hinder your submission, but just really just a feedback. You could use that to reach out to us. And then on the training videos and the other information that's listed on the STS page under the IQVIA Go Live resources. And then here's my information, ccrone@sts.org, along with my phone number, and our database operations questions are stsdb@sts.org. If you are having problems with logging in, or your surgeons are looking for their login and password, this is where you would reach out, because we can easily check into that and get those credentials generated to you with a quick turnaround time. Okay, so I'm going to go to the questions and answers. If you have anything you'd like to ask, please use the Q&A form. We have about 23 minutes to get through some of these. And if we don't get through them and it's something that you are desperately needing an answer on, please email me and I'll reach out to IQVIA and we'll get you an answer. So are you ready, Melanie? Because we're going to tag team this.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. With adding and deleting patients from the database, how do we ensure deleting patients are not submitted to DCRI for analysis? I believe that when you reach out to IQVIA and you delete a patient, that they will let you know that that patient's been removed, and that feature is coming soon where you'd be able to do it yourself at your site level. Anything to add to that?
Nope, that's correct. So long as, and we're also looking through in regards to duplication, but for those that are reporting it, we are making sure that we're queuing those up also in regards to getting those deleted.
Okay, and this next question kind of flows right along with that. My facility had 2 patients erroneously uploaded into IQVIA. The forms were mostly empty. The issue was identified the day prior to the final deadline. Email was sent to IQVIA. Will this affect our reporting status?
No, it won't.
So okay, thank you. And IQVIA would reach out to sites to let them know that, hey, we received your email and we removed these patients from your portal.
As long as she contacted, yep.
Great, thank you. I only submitted my 4th quarter 2019 records. Is it recommended to submit all of the 2019 or even more years back? No, as long as you made a previous submission for Harvest 4 of 2019 to DCRI that included records with OR dates of September 30. How many days are in September?
I think it's 30.
It's 30. September 30, and you did not make any changes to any of those records. None of your patients had any changes to their cases. You do not need to resubmit that data. Just October 1st through December 31st is required, and IQVIA will merge that all together in the packaged data back to DCRI for analytics. Next question. What is the process for providing access to IQVIA dashboard for providers? The surgeons I work with say that they haven't received an email yet to sign into the IQVIA platform. If this has been covered already in a previous call, I apologize. No problem, Naomi. Just reach out to the STSDB@sts.org and include your surgeon's name and your PID number. Your PID number is your participant ID number. It's 5 digits long, and for adult cardiac, it will start with a 1 or 3. So reach out to STSDB, and we will be able to generate those passwords for your surgeons. They may have gone into their spam folders. Next question. I am trying to find data on where the patient was discharged to on the dashboard. I cannot seem to find it. Is this something that's on there? So I'm not sure if we have discharge location on the dashboard yet, but if not, it will be something that's coming in the future. Do you know off the top of your head, Melanie, if that's discharge location is already displayed?
Let me check. Let's go through. Let me see if I can just quickly take a look, and I will confirm.
Okay, thank you. Next question, is observed to expected ratio something we can receive from the dashboard as well? Yes, the ODE ratios will be provided on that benchmarked dashboard. Next question, please explain what the vendors are waiting for on regards to documents necessary to perform database builds. So we should be, the vendors have the data specifications, and they are waiting on the software specifications, which will be coming this week. Next question. Can we please have a list of errors and warnings that IQVIA is set up to provide? They are different from the inconsistencies that we see in DCRI, and it would be helpful when we do our cleaning through our vendor platform. So STS and IQVIA are kind of going through those lists now, and I believe that we would be able to post these. And I think we've said that on previous webinars that we would post these errors and warnings lists.
Yes. And it's just because we were doing some updates and going through making sure that we had the most current, but we will be posting. We have done another review of those, and we will be posting that. Carol, we probably just need to do one final pass, and then we can get that posted probably by the end of this week.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks, Melanie. Next question. Do we get any type of confirmation that our data was submitted from the database to STS for the STAR report? No, if you've submitted data, your data will go if you did not opt out. So as long as you submitted data, it will be sent over to DCRI for analysis. We are unable to view the dashboard. We thought that was only for their quarterly report. Who do we need to reach out to for access to the dashboard? So if you're able to upload your data and you are able to, you go over on the left-hand side of your screen, there's the operational reports, I believe it's called, or something like that, operations. And
operational
you click on
reports.
that, that's operational. I have my memory, it's green, it's burned into my memory. You click on that, you'll see the dashboard, and you'll see where to access the dashboard. Over on the left-hand side under operational reports. When you open that page, it'll kind of be in the middle of the page, and then you'll need to double-click or click on it to drop down the menu to choose your time frame and your procedures that you're looking for. And Melanie went over this in the last webinar, which should be posted on the website. Next question. Are you saying that our STAR-rated benchmarked data will not be available until summer 2020 for 2019 data? So no, let me show you here. Hold on. I'm going to get out of this screen real quick. On the STS page, so our timelines are not going to be too far off from what we have posted, but just because this is a new process between IQVIA and DCRI, this is the harvest schedule. The reports for this harvest one are typically posted the end of April. We are still anticipating the end of April or early May, and we will communicate that out. And that's consistent with how Harvest 1 reports have been posted in the past. Next question. Where is the live data dashboard in the IQVIA site? So maybe I can go. Is it okay if I go there real quick, Melanie, to show?
Yeah, or if you want me to share, I'm actually in the application, if you want to make it easier for you.
I think I got it right here. Hold on.
All right.
So this is the 999 report. This is the STS report. The data is not real. So this is the adult cardiac. It opens right up to the notification tab. And then over here in the operational, on the left-hand side, you have what site you're looking at. You have your notifications. So there's 4 that I haven't clicked on yet, which are these dark gray ones. And then the operational report is this. And when you click on operational reports, you'll see your missing variable report and your adult cardiac dashboard. And this is where you would have to click on this link to open it up and choose your time frame and procedures. I'm not going to do that because last time we took a little bit of extra time away from the webinar, so I'm just going to go back to the webinar now. Okay, next. Was that good, Melanie? I think that was okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, next question. We uploaded the files to IQVIA to remove PHI for previous months. What copies of the STS IQVIA database persist? How can we assure that PHI has been totally removed from the database? So I think within your dashboard, you can drill down into those PHI fields to ensure that no data is in there for those, no cases is showing up for those fields.
Yep, you would be able to use that access case and be able to see those updates from those hyperlinks. Yep.
Thank you. Is there a different version of the Proc ID table, more of a flow chart for what stays isolated and what makes a procedure other? No. So the Proc ID chart is, we used to have the Proc ID chart that looked like a flow chart. In 2.81, we got away from that, and we went to a list type Proc ID chart. That's what we have available, and we're going to spend time on an upcoming webinar to go through this. This is the Proc ID chart, to go through this and explain how to read it. Once you get a little bit of education on this, at least for me, once I got a little educated on this and I was able to explain it to somebody else, it made a lot more sense than just looking at this without any context. So we will go through this in more detail on how to read this procedure identification chart. Next question. Where did my questions go? Once a month calls are good until July 1st upgrade, then weekly would be great. So we'll get up to that point, and then we'll maybe do another poll and see how we're doing. Right now, what we're going to do is we'll still have the once monthly calls, which will be more of didactic information coming from IQVIA, or now that we're through this part with IQVIA, maybe the next one will be on the Proc ID and understanding how risk models work and things like that. And then we'll do user group calls once a month also, which will be the kind of get together with all of the data managers, and we can discuss ways that you are using the database, or we can have different scenarios where data managers talk about their quality improvement projects and how they utilize what's in the dashboard, or how they're pulling reports out, kind of to share your tips and tricks with each other. And then we'll also have the upgrade calls at the end of the month until we get through the rest of the going through the rest of the upgrade. Next question, benchmarked data platform will equal old quarterly reports from DCRI and star rating reports. So the benchmarked data that comes back will be for this benchmarked data. On that benchmarked platform, the dashboard that has the benchmarked data, it will just be for this reporting period. Is that right, Melanie? We're not going to, that's why the sites need to pull down their previous
Correct.
reports from DCRI.
Correct.
So this new benchmarked dashboard that will come out probably April, May time with your Harvest 1 data will just be for that harvest. We will then have, in the near future, we will have a longitudinal dashboard, which will be more longitudinal data, but it will not have, I think that's still kind of in progress with what's going to be and what's not going to be available on there. But your old quarterly reports are those that you need to pull down from DCRI by March 31st if you have not done so already. Next question. When will we get the ability to download reports that look good and not all at once? It took many hours to download some real basic, not pretty, not that useful tables, and the bar graphs don't come through with those downloads.
Yep. So we are, yeah, and that actually is another enhancement item, and I'll update the slides just to include that, because that was another item that had come up in regards to the printing capability. So we are looking at the enhancement to be able to make sure that you're able to print not in pieces. So again, that one's under review.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think the next question is about opting in or out for public reporting, and I'm not quite sure where that opt out, oh, it might have been there. Here it is. So this is, the next question is, where do we find the opt-in out for public reporting? So this is the STS, this page goes back to the STS homepage, registries and research, public reporting, and go to the public reporting site. And then under resources is where you have the consent forms, and this is where you can opt out of the public reporting. So STS, registries and research, public reporting, resources is where you would go. Next question, will this new report also include the slide presentations that we are accustomed to? So these were the PowerPoint slides that actually STS and IQVIA had a conversation about that earlier this week, and that is something that we are discussing regarding the slides that DCRI previously provided. I think we're still talking about that, right, Melanie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question. The harvest schedule shows the end of April for Harvest 1, but during this webinar it was shared that Benchmark Risk Analyze dashboard will be available summer 2020. Will the Harvest 1 published data be delayed? No, I think we're still aiming for the end of harvest, end of April, but that timeline may shift as this is the first time that we have that bidirectional data exchange between IQVIA and DCRI, and we will keep you updated. We know those outcome benchmark data is extremely important to sites to get out as soon as possible, so that's our goal to do that. The specification document for 4.20.1 has been out on the website for a few weeks. Have you made any changes since you first published it to the website? No, no changes have been made. Found the dashboard. Can navigation of the live dashboard be included in the next call, maybe a walkthrough on reporting and or patient drill down? So this was actually been on the last couple calls since December, so I suggest going back and reviewing those webinars for a refresh on how to use the dashboard. And we also have some under the STS National Database, let me get there, under these IQVIA resources.
Yep, back
I
one.
can find
Yep,
it.
the transition.
This one here.
Yep.
We have, there's an ACSD dashboard overview that you can review. And this is a PDF that will walk you through that. And then we have a couple videos as well that will show you uploader instruction, and the dashboard overview is here. So one of the first ones on the general navigational training. So again, that's the STS National Database link here. You scroll down a little bit, and it's this database transition resource. And then under the view videos or the ACSD dashboard overview is where you'll find more information on the dashboard. Please add sequence numbers to the DQR enhancements to better recognize fields and attention, and that is something IQVIA has on the to-do list, the long to-do list. Next question. Are there plans to include exclusions and exceptions to provide data managers the ability to filter out fallouts? So I think, I'm not sure exactly what that means, Linda, but I'm thinking you're looking for inclusion of the procedure identification, and we do include the procedure identifications are used on the dashboard. Isn't that, am I talking incorrectly, Melanie?
No, it's included on the dashboard, but maybe Linda, if you have any specifics that you're looking for, then maybe we can answer more clearly.
Okay, thank you. And then I just opened up the upvote function, so if you wanted to upvote any of the questions here, we have about 5 minutes left, and we'll get through what we can. But if you see questions in there that look important to you, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, and we will, it should be in the Q&A, and we'll get to those questions quicker. More quickly, I guess. The next question, what does MVP, MVR, MVP mean? So MVR is the missing variable report, and then the MVP was the minimal viable product. That's what STS had to make decisions about what we needed at go live to get everything up and running. So that's what that was. Next question, is it okay to go ahead and submit January cases, or do we need to wait? Nope, go ahead, it's open. Go ahead and submit. Next question, are all surgeons notified by STS about the annual MIPS consent deadline, or only STS members? We have surgeons who intended to be included in MIPS and didn't know about it last October. Please advise. So I believe that this goes out to all of our surgeons, and I don't know if Donna's on the line or not, if she wanted to fill in here, but I believe this goes out to every surgeon, and any surgeon who is participating in the STS National Database for adult cardiac can participate in those MIPS.
That's correct, Carol. It goes out to all surgeons, not just members.
Great, thank you. Next question. Thank you, Donna. Next question. With the submission window for Harvest 1 closed on 2/28, when can we make corrections for previously submitted data? So you can go ahead and make those corrections now. IQVIA took a snapshot of the data that was in at 11:59 p.m. on the 28th. So you can go ahead, and they moved that data over to a separate separate section, and you can go ahead and make changes to data. It will not, but it will not be reflected in this Harvest 1 report. Can IQVIA increase the size limit of file upload, or the file size restriction make submission, resubmission lengthy process?
We would have to look at like what exactly are they talking about. I think they're talking about the number of records they're including, right? I think right now we're recommending not to upload more than, I believe it was 1,000 records. I think maybe that's what they're referring to. But we are working on enhancements on making sure that we're able to accept more. There are some sites that have stated that they have been able to do that, but we are recommending that for now, and we will follow back up in regards to when those performance enhancements are deployed, but we're saying no more than 1,000 at the moment.
Okay, thank you. And I even suggest that just from a logistical, from a perspective of having to clean data, that's a lot of feedback to get back on more than 1,000 cases. So keeping the files about that, I think, is reasonable for a site to do cleanup on their cases. What reports are publicly reported? So publicly reported is a voluntary process, and I have on the screen there what we report by hospital and participant surgery group. And we are going down to hospital level, or these are what we report now for hospital and participant surgery groups: isolated CAB, AVR, AVR CAB, and then if you look at it, overall composite score, the absence of morbidity, major morbidity, mortality, morbidity, use of your internal mammary, and the required preoperative medications. And more information can be found out about this when you go here and click on explanation of star ratings. It talks about how it's calculated and then what goes into these different measures and how they're calculated. So a lot of information out there if you're interested in learning. It's on the STS public reporting site. I suggest checking it out. An example, in addition to the exclusion question from earlier, if there are contraindications to the medication at discharge, can that be included in the reports? So I think, don't we report out now if a medication?
We do.
Don't we report out all of the options? Yeah, I thought so.
Report out all of the options and give the total counts and percentages for each.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Oh, so that one is reported out. This is a different example of an exclusion. This is the new onset AFib excluding patients with a previous arrhythmia. So you just, this is something that will be reported out in your benchmarked outcomes once analysis is performed. IQVIA doesn't perform analysis on these cases. This is just your raw data that you're seeing in that non-analyzed dashboard, and it's what you selected on your data quality report. So I think that's two different types of exclusion. When are we going to be able to download the data quality report? So you can download that now, and Melanie had gone over it in the last webinar, and I think it's also provided on those resources on the STS webpage. And it looks like we're at time. Let's just take one more question, Melanie, if you don't mind, and then we'll call it a day here. Next question and last question: will we be notified of the enhancements? So I think this. Do you want to answer that one, Melanie?
Yes, absolutely. So when we implement enhancements, fixes, we will be posting to the notification section. So at this point, that's where any of that information, if you're, once you log in and you take a look and we have any updates, that's where they will be posted.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I guess we're going to call it a day there with that last question, and look forward to talking to you again. Please reach out if you have any questions. We'll help you get through this between STS and IQVIA. We got you. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks, Melanie. And thanks,
Thank
Donna.
you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.